Good morning, and welcome to the Lone Star Weekly Business Hour. Your host, Rick Schisler, is a Silver Fox advisor who personally has over 40 years of experience as a serial entrepreneur. So sit back, pull out your pad and pencil, and get ready to take notes as we join Rick Schisler in his Lone Star Weekly Business Hour.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rick Schisler, your Silver Fox advisor, and I'm welcoming you to this week's Weekly Business Hour. Glad you were able to join us. We've got a lot to cover this morning. Here in the studio, we've got Rita Wiltz, Executive Director of Children's Books on Wheels. We've got a lot of business news, both local and national, to talk about. And we also are going to have Dawn Candy, I Promote You, join us in our final segment to talk about promotional advertising. So let's get to it. Real quick, want to remind you that you have a question about what we're talking about today, or at any time, reach out to me personally, Rick at irlonestar.com, or call here at the station, 936-647-3776. So let us know what's on your mind and get in touch. What's going on at Lone Star this week? Dick's got a little bit under the weather here with a little bit of a frog in his voice, but great activity coming up this Sunday, as it does every month. The Players Theater Company, the Old Time Radio Hour, is going to be doing live on stage at the Owen Theater, 7 o'clock this Sunday. Mark that down. Bring your family. It's a free event. It's a great thing to attend, especially with kids. I really encourage you. It lasts typically less than an hour, so they don't get too antsy in the seats, but it's a chance to watch some great acting, if you will, at least radio acting, if you know what that is. And the play this month is Fibber McGee and Molly, one of the old-time favorites on radio plays, as well as later on live TV. So bring your kids out and enjoy. Another event I'd like to mention and remind you of, one of the great events here in the Conroe area that's coming up, is Taste Fest. That's hosted by the Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce. That's this Thursday, May 14th, at the Lone Star Convention Center from 5 to 8. Lots of food and drink, lots of samples. You buy a ticket and you eat till you bust. So it's a great event. A lot of folks come out for it, so I encourage you, again, bring your family. It's a family-friendly event, and see what all the restaurants in the greater Conroe area have cooked up for you. Well, Rita Wiltz is in the studio today, Executive Director of Children's Books on Wheels. Welcome, Rita.
Good morning. Good morning. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Well, she is here today to talk about her business, and that's Children's Books on Wheels, etc. I just have to say, after visiting with Rita, they do a lot of things with her program. This is a nonprofit, but like we've talked about on this show before, it's a business. Rita, why don't we just start out and let you tell our audience about Children's Books on Wheels and what they do.
Okay. Well, we've been told that our name should probably be Children's Books on Wheels and more, because of all the services that we provide to families, to children, to the siblings, to the grandparents in the communities of Montgomery County. So Montgomery County, it's a big place. It's a big area to cover, and we cover all of it with the different services that we provide through our nonprofit. Children's Books on Wheels, we're a nonprofit, mobile literacy, we're 501c3, and we promote reading by providing books to kids, educational literature, to pre-K to 12th grade students and their families. And our community is rural, so we get out there. It's kind of like when you're out there volunteering and you have the phone and you say, "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?" Because we're so way out there in the clay dirt. We're out in East County, out in Cut and Shoot, out in Deerwood, out in Splendora. Then we go all the way across the county to Magnolia and Montgomery. We're down in the Woodlands area, a lot of areas down in that particular area that need us, over in the Mission Woods Apartments. We volunteer with the YMCA, and then we're over in Tamina. So we cover the county with the volunteers that we have, and I must say we do a really good job with the services we provide.
Well, you know, one thing, if you didn't pick it up, ladies and gentlemen, that Rita's mobile. This is a mobile service. Am I right, Rita?
Yes, we are.
So you bring the books and the knowledge to the young people, and then you mentioned even grandparents. You bring the books to them. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. And one of the things we found out about the new generation of families that we have now, we have grandparents that are raising kids, and the grandparents are raising kids. They're not used to going into the libraries. They're not used to the internet. All of a sudden they have their responsibility. So what we do with the services that we provide is fill the gap for them. Make sure that they have access to the resources that they need to raise their kids. Make sure that the young moms that we work with have the services that they need as far as referral to some of the social services that they need. Our services are pretty diverse, so we have that population of volunteers that work with us.
That's the next question I have. Who are your volunteers? If I'm listening to the program today and would perhaps look for volunteer activity, who are the volunteers that work with your organization?
Our volunteers are the love of the life of Montgomery County. Our volunteers are retired veterans that work with us on the veteran program that we have with the Houston Money Week. Our volunteers are retired executives. We have executives that are retired from ExxonMobil. We have veterans that are retired from Chevron Phillips. Our volunteers are the A-team with Exxon just coming to town. We're so happy that they volunteer with us when we provide the services over at Barnes & Noble. Our volunteers are English speaking, Spanish speaking, and other languages that we need. What we found out is Montgomery County is not the community you grew up in. Now our county has a lot of color. So what we do is provide services for those. Our volunteers go all the way to Deerwood. We have volunteers that volunteer for the after-school literacy program. We have another set of volunteers that volunteer for the breast cancer awareness event. We have volunteers that help us with the domestic violence program that we have and the teen dating domestic violence. We have the volunteers that work with us with SSOE. And SSOE is a state of emergency task force, HIV/AIDS awareness. We have volunteers that work with us with the Vital Tax program. And we have volunteers that work with us with the after-school program at our new facility in Tamina, the after-school facility, and our new facility called the Sleepy Hollow Multipurpose Building.
Well, you've got a lot of volunteer opportunities, it sounds like. Pretty much anything I would like to be involved in as far as helping people and mention that word love, that there's an opportunity within your organization to do that. Are you currently looking for volunteers, or is that an ongoing thing?
It's an ongoing thing. In fact, I was thinking about recruiting you. From our conversation this morning, you could definitely donate your wisdom and your knowledge to our organization to help the families. The services that we provide are at no cost. And they say, well, if you're a nonprofit, how do you make money? What do you do? How do you just continue to help these people? First of all, when you volunteer, you have to love what you do. You have to love and want to help the families. There are a lot of families in need, and they need us. And it's not just because they're a bum and they just stopped working. Circumstances in life happen. They lost their job, or all of a sudden a young mom found out that she was pregnant and she needs help and she's still in high school. You know, it's a lot that we can do. It's a lot that can be done. And we just want volunteers to contact us. A lot of the volunteers that we have for certain programs, there is a background check. Well, there's a background check because you're working with kids. You would want your kids to be in the hands of someone that's safe, and that's exactly what we do. Some of the programs that we have, the services that we provide as healthcare marketplace navigators, is an FBI background check. That may not be your area of expertise, but we need volunteers. There are volunteers that come in to help do snacks. There are volunteers that come in to sort books for us. One of the things right now, my son is the Air Force ROTC at Oak Ridge, and one of the things that the guys do over there is they come in, they have mentor, they have tutor, other peer groups, and then they also help with the after-school program with the kids of organizing the books. We have a young man came in this weekend that was getting his Eagle Scout Award, and he collected books. So we have an array of volunteers, and if you want to volunteers, contact us. I guarantee you'll be going, oh no, is that Miss Rita calling again? Does she need me again? Because we need you, we want to. And it's not one of the organizations you come in and you go, oh, I'll just sit around all day. If you've ever volunteered with Children's Books on Wheels, you know we'll keep you busy.
Well, it sounds like a wonderful opportunity. Let me ask you this. To the general public, how do you set your organization apart from others who provide the same or similar services?
Well, we would like to think that we're unique with the services that we provide. A lot of organizations, they may fund a program and say that they provide the services, and they really don't provide the services. What we actually do, if there's a program, we actually provide the services that we say, with the after-school program, with enrollment in CHIP, Medicaid, and food stamps, with the healthcare marketplace, with the free tax services that we do, the projects we do with the IRS. We actually go into the communities and we mobile. By being mobile, we're able to get in where people are, because one of the top 5 in Montgomery County is, one of the needs is transportation. We don't have a transit system. So what we do is we come in, provide the services where you are. We meet the need. We know the language. You tell us exactly what kind of program you have. We roll in, set up our program, and we leave. We've been told that when we come in, provide services, when we leave, it's cleaner when we leave than it was when we got there.
Well, that's an interesting thought. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break now. When we come back, we're going to talk with Rita a little bit about running the business that she has. And by the way, don't forget to like us on Facebook here at IR Lone Star and follow everything that happens at Lone Star IR Radio.
Hi, this is Daryl May. Don't miss this opportunity to have a free railroad crossing safety awareness presentation at your place of business, place of employment, church, social group, community function, etc. From a retired railroad locomotive engineer who has survived an 18-wheeler train crossing collision. There's not a crowd too small or too big, and I will travel anywhere to give this very important and educational presentation. This 30-minute presentation could save you or your family member's life. You can contact me directly at 832-512-9978 or by email, the letter D as in Daryl, letter M as in May, the number 4, letter Y at hotmail.com. Once again, it's 832-512-9978 or DM4Y at hotmail.com. Thank you.
Hi folks, it's your old buddy Luke Clayton, and I want to invite you to join me every Saturday morning right here on Lone Star Internet Radio from 8 to 9 for Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Bill Dance is a frequent guest. Larry Weissman, Mr. Whitetail, is on the show every week. We talk a lot of hunting and fishing and generally have a good time. So remember, every Saturday morning, 8 to 9, right here on Lone Star Internet Radio.
The East Texas Dream Center, conveniently located at 301 South 1st Street, Conroe, Texas 77301, relies solely upon the generosity of those who are led to contribute. We are a Christian organization that houses women and children who are trying to get their lives back after being homeless, abused, or addicted. Your financial contributions are tax deductible. We are recognized by the IRS as a tax-exempt organization under Section 501c3. With faith, hope, education, and a lot of love, we seek to lead individuals towards self-sufficiency so they can become contributing members of society. Your generous gift will help women and children in our community. Please visit our website to find ways to donate or volunteer. Our website is www.easttexasdreamcenter.org. Again, the website is www.easttexasdreamcenter.org. A telephone number where you can reach us is 281-601-6800. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Tune in to Chamber Chat with your host, Courtney Galley and Samantha Good, with the Conroe Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce, every first Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. I'm one of your hosts, Courtney Galley. Samantha and I will chat about the Conroe Chamber's upcoming events and programs for the month. Relax with a cup of joe or your favorite drink for Chamber Chat.
Welcome back to the Weekly Business Hour. This is Rick Schisler, your Silver Fox advisor. And in the studio today, we're having a great chat with Rita Wiltz, Executive Director of Children's Books on Wheels. Well, Rita, I'm just so impressed all the things that your business or nonprofit does. Got a lot of balls up in the air, as I like to call it. A lot of things happening on a daily as well as an event basis. teach me what in your career prepared you for your current position.
Well, I think a lot of it is it's inherited. The generations of my family. A little bit of quick history about our family in Montgomery County is my great-great-grandmother was a midwife for the Grogans. And when I was growing up, the Grogans were always at our house, not just because Dad worked for them. Well, see, my dad, he was 98. He passed away last year. And one of the things that Dad taught us is education will get you far, but knowing what you're doing and comprehending what you're reading will get you further. And so Dad worked for the Grogans. I remember Mr. Horace, Mr. JG, Miss Barbara, they all used to come to the house. And my mom would cook, not because she worked for them as a cook, but because they liked Mom's food. And my great-great-grandmother, her name was Louise Williams, and they call her Aunt Lou. And she was a midwife for the Grogans because they had a sawmill right down here before River Plantation was here called the Grogan Sawmill. And she also delivered a lot of mulatto kids. Those were kids that their parents were slaves, and then they integrated and had kids. So grandmother did that. We also are part of the history of Montgomery County as far as the mail service. My great-great-uncle John Elmore was the first Negro mail carrier in Montgomery County. The streets in Tamina, Uncle John named most of those streets. Now, one of the things that my cousins find interesting is there's a street called Carmita. And my kids said, Mom, Uncle John named a street out of Carmita. I said, yeah, but he gave me a piece of real estate. That was the best thing that he could have ever done for me, because we wanted to stay in Conroe, and we grew up in the 4-H club. So the 4-H club was in Montgomery County, and my mom, Della Henry, was the first Negro 4-H club leader in Montgomery County. So it's all about volunteering. I remember being a little girl, and Mom would take families in to vote when they needed the Negroes to vote. Of course, back then we were Negroes. So we evolved from Negroes to color to African American to black, and we were always a part of volunteering. And then with the kids, my children have always been very involved in school, and I've always been involved in PTO. So PTO president for different schools, and working with kids and reading in the libraries, and homeroom moms. So from volunteering, reading, and working with kids, I knew that a lot of kids needed things. And one of the things they needed was access to books. It was okay to have a library, but then these kids needed their own things. And then once Hurricane Katrina and Rita, yes, it's spelled the same way, came to town, we started to work with those families. Those kids had lost their things, and their things were their books and their trophies and their shoes. And it just started evolving. And my sister said, you need to become a nonprofit. Then I met my mentor. My mentor is Reverend Leslie Smith with Change Happens. And he mentored me. And I can nonprofit like nobody you've ever seen before, because it's a passion within me. And I love it. And I saw my mother do it. I saw my father do it. I saw my grandparents. It's just in my soul. And being a genealogist, I work with Robin Montgomery to do a lot of things. So it's just in me, and it just bubbles out. And I just like networking, connecting people together. And if you let me, before you know this day is over, you'll be volunteering with me too, Rick.
Well, the great thing here in the story, just in similar to mine, I followed my father and my grandfather into business, and they gave me great experience. And then, of course, I went out on my own and did it. So a lot of stories in business like that. And you're in business. I mean, you're running a nonprofit that's got lots of moving parts, fairly complex from listening to your stories, and you make it happen every day. Let me ask you this, and this is true in any business. What is the secret to your success?
I think the secret of my success is that I want to do it, and I love what I do. I think if you love what you do, you should create a business around it. Become that young entrepreneur. One of the things that I love about what I do is that I help so many people. And not everything you do, like Dad said, not everything you do in life you get paid for. But, and a lot of rewards that I get, I know they're not going to be earthly rewards. So I got that heavenly reward that I'm looking for, because I have that passion. We want to feed the kids. I mean, wouldn't you want your child to have access to education? Wouldn't you want your own child to have access to health care? Aren't there people out there that need help with getting their taxes and information prepared? And you want the information to be done correctly. So for every certification, for everything that we do, I'm certified so that I can get in there and help and get in the trenches. And yes, I do get my feet dirty also. In fact, I have a pair of cowboy boots just for that. So it's just being passionate about what you do, wanting to help, sharing, and just loving what you do. I think it's the love of what I do that gets me through.
Well, and that passion is something we hear as a common thread through many successes in business, particularly entrepreneurs. You've got to have that passion. The other side of that, though, and I need to ask you about it, is the passion. At some point, you go down a road and you're doing something, and it just kind of dead ends. But if I have passion, sometimes I stay too long. And I'm sure in your history, your career, you've tried an idea out, it just didn't work. How do you gauge when something's working or when you need to stop that and take another road? Have you had that challenge before?
Well, I can truly say I have not. And that may seem like, oh my gosh, she's got to be kidding. Because there are so many things that we do. A lot of things that we do are seasonal. The back to school bash that we do. Then we go in through breast cancer awareness. The HIV/AIDS is a summer program. Then in the fall, we get ready for the free tax services that we provide. Then in the spring, we got the love of literacy. And then every August, we have a white party. Now, our white party is not quite like Puff Diddy's white party, but our white party is everybody coming out and having that celebration with the band down at our new facility. We have barbecues there. And we're always helping someone else. So let's say, for instance, that Montgomery County Youth Services is having an event and they need volunteers. They'll call us because they know we're ready to go. We'll contact the volunteers and say, does anybody want to volunteer for Montgomery County Youth Services? Does anybody want to volunteer with the library? Who's available for interfaith? What do you want to do with the YMCA? So there's a lot to do as far as our services that we provide, and we have this array of volunteers that I know when it's tax season, I'll connect these to. I'll know when it's breast cancer awareness, I'll connect these. I know the domestic violence conference. And we got a person that helps us to oversee a lot of what we do as far as publicity. Everybody needs a Donna Wick in their life. And she just makes sure that we're out there and people know who we are and what we do and the way we do it. And then we also have a Google partner that we work with. His name is Brandon. So I know you've probably seen our new branding out there for Children's Books on Wheels. And by working with our Google partner, we're able to get out there. And we got a new trademark event that's coming up called DigTech 365. And DigTech 365 help other nonprofits, and that's what we do to get their message out there also. We have grant writers. We have, if you want a 501c3, and we have another lady that we work with. Her name is Stacy Williams, and Stacy Williams works with us in the summer. A lot of kids are getting ready to go to school, but they can't afford a haircut. So Stacy will cut some kids' haircut. There's this family she works with. This lady has adopted, and she has 6 foster kids. So one little kid is African American, one little kid is Spanish, one little kid is Caucasian, and she has all these different hair textures that she worked with. So Stacy said, Mom, I can help her, So Stacy goes out, she does the hair for the kids. She's worked with the Lone Star Family Health Center. A lot of ladies are going through chemo. They're embarrassed about going into a salon. Stacy will go to their house and cut and do their hair. So we have these array of volunteers that can help us, that can volunteer, and it just makes us just flow. And we just love it. And the volunteers just love it. And you have to show appreciation for your volunteers. You have to have that moment where you show appreciation for your volunteers and what they do. We volunteer with the Chamber for the Volunteer Appreciation Luncheon. And we're just everywhere. Last week, we were at the Fiesta for the Hispanic Chamber Conference. So we're everywhere. We're doing everything. And you say, how do we do it? We do it because another reason is we stay in shape. We try to eat the right thing. We focus. And we have a new garden out at our facility out in Tamina at the Sleepy Hollow Multi-Purpose Building. So we walk that walk. We talk that talk. And we'll just reel. And you just meet an array of volunteers. And one of those volunteers, you're going to fall in love with them, and you're going to catch that Children's Books on Wheels fever, and you're not going to let us go.
Well, I think that was a recruitment message. I don't know about that, but that's all right. You're a nonprofit, and this is part of what we do here with our public service announcements. In fact, it's one of our core values here at the station. Well, you've got a great story, a great business story, a very, in my opinion, somewhat complex business. And I really appreciate you coming out and sharing it with us today. I applaud your business. It's obviously in the past, 10 years, it's grown tremendously.
Yes.
And you've got this event coming up, and the way I understand your event is you're there to help other people with their nonprofits. So you've kind of come to full circle. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, we have. And thank you so much for having us here today. I really appreciate visiting with you. And I can tell that you care. And I've done interviews before with different people on TV and radio, but it's important that when you come in for an interview, the person meets with you and talk to you and find out what your interests are and can focus in on that. And we thank you for that, Rick.
Tell us one more time, though, the event. I think that's an important event for folks that are in the nonprofit business, particularly those getting started. Tell us about that, would you?
Well, it's the Google Partners Connect for entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and small businesses. And it's June the 6th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And it's at our Sleepy Hollow Multipurpose Center. And the Sleepy Hollow Multipurpose Center is located at 9845 Sleepy Hollow in Tamina. And it's Google Partners Connect. We're hosting an opportunity to learn how to start and grow their own nonprofit business. Brandon Lucians will be with us. And Brandon Lucians, he's the one that does all the branding. I know people have seen our flyers and have saying, what are they doing? Who's this person they got? We got Brandon, who's the person that evaluates our programs and makes sure that we do what we do and help other nonprofits. And that's Dr. Brenda Smith with BSP and Associates. So we're happy that we'll be able to provide the services. It'll talk about digital marketing. It'll talk about 501c3, how to set up your 501c3, how to connect with PayPals. You can RSVP at our website, childrenbooksonwheels.org. Has information about the particular program we have coming up. And then we're also Google Partners as far as scholarships and grants through Google. So if you miss it, you miss a lot. And it is on a Saturday because I know a lot of businesses can't get in. And we're hoping that you guys will be out there to do a live broadcast for us for that particular day.
Well, that might be a possibility. We'll have to talk to the owners to see about that. But Rita, again, thank you very much for coming in and sharing your business story and bringing your passion to the table today. And just in case someone wanted to contact you to learn more about your organization or to volunteer, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way to contact us is through childrenbooksonwheels.org. There's a connect right there. Myself, Rita Wiltz, which is Executive Director and founder of Children Books on Wheels. They could call 888-470-0572. Again, that number is 888-470-0572 to Brandon Lucius, our partner, and he'll connect us together.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Again, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll have our business news and tips we hope you can use. And I want to encourage you, if you haven't visited the website for irlonestar.com, that you do so you can stay in touch with folks like Children's Books on Wheels. We'll be right back. Lone Star Internet Radio is now bringing you the weekly business hour show each Monday morning at 11 a.m. My name is Rick Schisler, and I will be your host. Each week, we will be bringing you local, area, and national business news that you can use. The program will also feature an interview with a local or national business person who will share their own experiences, successes, and failures in operating their businesses. Our show is for anyone who already owns a business, whether they work solo or have employees, and for those who are thinking about starting their own businesses. A bit of information about myself. Again, my name is Rick Schisler, and I am a Silver Fox advisor who has over 40 years experience as a serial entrepreneur. As a part of our show, I will offer some advice and encouragement on our monthly topic, and I will take your questions by email at rschisler@silverfox.org or call into the station at 936-647-3776. See you on the radio Monday at 11 a.m. for the weekly business hour.
This is Holly Price, Events Manager with Children's Cancer Recovery Foundation. The foundation assists children under age 18 and their families who are facing the hardships of a cancer diagnosis. Our mission focuses on improving the mental, social, and emotional well-being of these families while helping to minimize the devastation that cancer can cause. Located in the Woodlands, Texas, we support families who often face financial difficulties through our Helping Hands Fund. The Helping Hands Fund provides emergency bridge payments directly to the utility companies and landlords, ensuring that each child has a warm, safe place to call home while recovering from cancer. For more information, you can contact us directly at 713-389-5544. You can also check out our upcoming events or make a donation by visiting our website at www.childrenscancerrecovery.org.
I'm Lieutenant Bob Berry with the Conroe Police Department, reminding you that drinking and driving do not mix. Drinking and driving causes an alcohol-related fatality every hour in the United States. Stay sober and stay alive.
Hello, I'm Bonita DeRosa, Animal Control Officer for the City of Willis. We invite you to tune in to Lone Star Internet Radio every first and third Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. for the Willis Hour. On the first Thursday of the month, the Willis Hour will be covering upcoming events and news about the city. Join in the conversation with your city officials and other leaders in the community. On the third, we will be doing a recap of the last City Council meeting. The mission of the City of Willis is to provide high-quality services, accountability, and professional commitment to our citizens. We pledge to provide those who live, work, and visit our city an effective government that is open and responsive to the needs and values of the community. Again, we invite you to tune in on Lone Star Internet Radio every first and third Thursday of the month at 11 for the Willis Hour.
This is Rick Schisler, your Silver Fox advisor, welcoming you back to the Weekly Business Hour. We had a great morning. Rita Wiltz is quite an individual and built a real good business. In fact, a wonderful business serving the needs of those who need services, particularly children here in Montgomery County. At this point, I want to talk a little bit about the news and what's going on. First, to the national news. This is off of ABC News, Associated Press. And if you own a small business, regardless of your size, whether you're a solo practitioner or you have an employee or two or 5 or 10 or 20 or 250, Intuit, if you're familiar with that name, Intuit, the software maker, they are the ones who provide QuickBooks. Last year, they had a contest, and the winner of that contest got an ad on the Super Bowl. It's worth $4 or $5 million in case you don't know. It's an interesting contest, and I wanted to make all our listeners aware of it. It starts June 1st, and if you just go to the Intuit, INTUIT.com website to have all the information, this is an opportunity for you to really hit a home run. Of course, there's lots of competition. They had thousands of people apply last year, but it gets you a 30-second commercial on Super Bowl 50, which will be on February 7th next year. So if you win the contest, last year's winner was a company called Goldie Blocks, B-L-O-X. They're just a toy maker. And I say just a toy maker. Obviously, they were put forth a good effort. They won the contest. And after the ad played, within the first 15 seconds, tens of thousands of people were visiting their website to learn about their product. And obviously, their sales shot through the roof. So I think it's a great opportunity. I encourage all our listeners to enter the Intuit.com Super Bowl contest. Second thing I want to mention is, and I try to stay up with this, because many times businesses need access to money. And it's an ever-moving, ever-changing situation, particularly since the failure in 2007, 8, 9, when the financial markets just dropped through the floor. This is something I came across in Business Insider in my reading, article by John Hegiston, and it talks about a new source of funds for businesses. Let me give you a statistic real quick so you understand. Firms with $1 million or less in revenue in 2007 made 5.2 million loans out there in the loan market. In 2013, a couple of years ago, last time the statistics were provided, that number dropped to 2.4 million. And these are primary loans through banks and traditional lenders to small businesses. And we all know what happened. 2007-8, financial crash, and then banks pulled in the carpet, so to speak, and basically it was almost next to impossible to get a loan through traditional sources. But a lot of interesting things have happened since then, and this is a new one, and I wanted to share it with you. Companies like Square, if you're familiar with Square, it's an opportunity for small businesses to take credit cards right there in their business. It's an interesting tool. It's a tool used here at IR Lone Star, and also PayPal. And Rita even mentioned that on the show. PayPal, again, is another source where you can take credit cards and have some security that your payment will be covered. What these companies are doing now is they're offering loans, capital loans, to small and startup businesses, and they do it through the account. If you have a Square account or a PayPal account, you can utilize that account and make a quick loan. And this is interesting because I think it gives businesses an opportunity. Now, the first thing that's going to pop up in many people's mind is the interest rate. Yes, it's an interest rate. It's comparable, though, with credit card interest rates. So if you're borrowing against your credit card, which is not unusual for small businesses, you'll have a comparable rate. But the key thing here is the repayment is through these accounts. So they automatically debit your account. So that cuts down on the paperwork, and this gives them an interest in trying to do this. They're increasing the services they provide. That's why they're doing it. They're trying to lock you in as a customer. So they're offering you an opportunity to make a quick loan. And apparently you can apply for these loans and in a very short period of time be approved. So I would encourage you, if you need a quick amount of capital to buy some inventory, to do a quick expansion, seasonal, if your business is seasonal, take a look at one of these companies like Square if you're already using it. If you're not, I encourage you to look at it if you need to take credit cards and they're not a huge item for you because the rate is really competitive. Or PayPal. Many people take PayPal. The next item I have on business news is local. And local business news, interesting development, if you will, in the retail end of business. Direct Buy, a company, reopens in Shenandoah. Direct Buy was in Shenandoah for a number of years. In fact, it was reported in the Conroe Courier in the business section this past Sunday that this particular Direct Buy location, and I assume that a lot of you were familiar with Direct Buy. They ran a lot of television advertising. The owners of that Direct Buy, Tom and Alona Pope, built it into the largest Direct Buy outlet in the United States and Canada. And then they moved to Houston, relocated to try to gain a bigger market, ran into some problems with their building and whatnot, and made a business decision to relocate at least the retail part of their business to Shenandoah, maintaining a warehouse in Houston so they can expand into other markets such as Sugar Land. But they've reopened in Shenandoah, so that's good news for Shenandoah's tax base. We talked about that a show or two ago about Shenandoah being one of the leading tax per capita sales tax collectors in the whole state of Texas. For a business tip, switch gears a bit, 3 simple ways to increase customer retention. Now, we talk about in business in different forums, but I've talked about it on the show, customer retention, how important that is. I hope you understand, and most of you probably already know, that retention of a customer is so much more important, really, in relative value to obtaining a new customer. You say, well, why? Because obtaining a new customer costs you money, costs you effort, whereas you have a customer already, but you need to take care of your customer in every transaction you do with them, but there are other things you need to do, and let me give you 3 simple ones that you may or may not be doing. First, build customer engagement. Look for ways to communicate with your customer outside the transaction. Look for opportunities to introduce new ways that they can use your product or service and benefit from it instead of waiting for them to request it. In other words, keep your customer base informed. Talk to them. And I'm not necessarily meaning literally, but send them information, whether it be email or by snail mail or Facebook or whatever ways you communicate with the public. Make sure you're communicating about your existing product line, perhaps new ways to use your products, your services, offering new programs. The second thing is promotions. And I think a lot of folks do promotions. They do coupons, they do % off, but they really don't hit the target. They don't hit the center of the target. You've got to use promotions for existing clients. You've got to get the information first, as I mentioned before, get it directly to them, but do retention-oriented sales promotions. And so sometimes that's a little different than a promotion to the general public to try you out. Promotions that encourage an interaction of the customer with your company. So give me an example, right? Okay, give the kind of promotion that would encourage them to try a new product or service. In other words, not a broad blast, come in and do business with me. They've already done that. But give them an opportunity to experience your company in a different way, perhaps than they've done before. A different service, a different type of service, a bundling of services, a bundling of products, a membership opportunity. There are lots of ways customer retention promotions can be put together. The key target, obviously, of what you're trying to hit is building that relationship with the person you're already with. And then third, and not and not to be forgotten, and that's engaging in strategic public relations. Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR was on the show not long ago and talked about the importance of PR, the cost effectiveness of PR, the real value of it. And now she's a member of our roundtable of business experts. She would definitely stand up and shout. PR provides the means to establish and inform customers about your company. It gives your company credibility. It turns a lead into a customer because you build trust by using PR. My final tip of the day is the Silver Fox Advisor's Tip of the Week, and that's how to change your company's direction. Many companies today are faced with having to go in a little different direction, some in a major 180-degree direction, and sometimes it's really hard for them to grasp what needs to be done. The first thing is you got to look at changing your people, and it's hard to change people. Let's face it. I happen to be one of those that likes the settled, set routine of life. And when I change, it really takes a little effort to get started. Of course, I see that once I make that change, I've got to be convinced that it really will be of value to me in what I'm trying to do in my business or personal life. So recognize you're going to have some resistance, and that is one of the biggest threats to your business when you're trying to make a change, is your people will resist. And also, don't forget, your clients, your customers could resist, your vendors. Be aware of all of these points of resistance and be prepared to deal with them. The second thing is be patient about your change. Realize that it's not just the fact that you own or control or manage the business. You can decide something needs to be done and you just do it. You've got to prepare for it, and then it's going to take twice as long as we typically think it will. Prepare yourself to be patient. Recognizing, thirdly, the emotions. Again, this is being aware that people are going to be, to some degree, and it depends on the individual, resistance to the change. Key thing, too, fourthly, is communicate with your staff. Make sure they understand why you're making a change. Make sure they understand what's going on in the industry, and sell your change. This will be better for everyone. So keep that in mind if you're changing your company's direction. And I think all of us are going to be subject to that more often than in the past. Let's face it, folks, business is moving faster and faster all the time. We've been on Main Street for a long time, but Main Street itself is moving faster. So I encourage you to know how to make change in your company. Thank you for listening to the news and tips today, and I encourage you to visit the irlonestar.com website, to our show page, and listen to some of the business news and tips we've put out in the past. And at this point, we're going to take another short break, our final break for the day, and I hope you will stay with us because our special guest, Dawn Candy from I Promote You, will be joining us to talk about promotional advertising. So we'll see you in just a moment.
I'm Andrea Kolsky.
And I'm Heather Hall.
You may have heard of Justice Being Blind.
But what about being blonde?
In our show, Justice is Blonde, we talk about what's going on in Montgomery County, at the courthouse behind the scenes.
Hey, Andrea, don't forget about Harris County, too.
And honestly, Heather, nationwide, we cover it all.
Airing every Friday at 11 a.m., you can send in your burning questions to our email, justicesblonde.lonestar@gmail.com.
Or they can look us up on Facebook at Justice is Blonde.
Or they could even call in to the station at 936-647-3776. Although we are discussing the law, we're trying to keep it fun, and we have some awesome guests.
So tune in Friday for some legal fun, laughter, and an hour with the Blantourage.
SPCA PetSnap of Montgomery County is a 501c3 all volunteer-based rescue and adoption organization with a no-kill policy for healthy and adoptable animals. Our goals are fourfold: to rescue and rehabilitate homeless animals, to provide a safe haven for the animals until a suitable adoption or foster care home is found or until they are reunited with their owner, to educate the public about the great need to reduce pet population, which includes the importance of having their pets spayed and neutered, and to further the cause for humane and responsible pet ownership, and to provide a low-cost spay-neuter clinic for people who are unable to afford to spay or neuter their pets otherwise. SPCA PetSnap of Montgomery County encourages you to think adoption first. You can contact us at www.spcaofmc.com.
Looking for a source for Montgomery County's news and events? Then tune in every weekday morning on Mornings with Lone Star at 8 a.m., covering the news, weather, and local off-topics for your morning entertainment. So make Mornings with Lone Star your third stop of the morning at 8 a.m. on irlonestar.com.
Did you know there are more than 790 abused and neglected children currently in foster care in Montgomery County? Will you help make a difference? I'm Allie Stevens with Casa Child Advocates of Montgomery County. We train and support volunteers to be the voice of children in the foster care system. Kids removed from their home because of abuse and neglect, and we need volunteers just like you to advocate for these children. To learn more about becoming an advocate, please visit CasaSpeaksForKids.com. That's CasaSpeaksForKids.com.
Welcome back to the Weekly Business Hour. This is Rick Schisler, your Silver Fox Advisor. And as promised, we have Dawn Candy on the phone with us. Dawn is an expert in the area of marketing and promotional advertising. She's been on the show before, and I asked her to join us today to talk a little bit about promotional advertising, why it's important to your business. So, Dawn Candy, I promote you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rick. I'm happy to be back.
Well, tell us about promotional advertising. I mean, you're an expert in that area, an expert in marketing. What is promotional advertising?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, Rick, because a lot of times people think about promotional advertising as being something, whether you're doing a radio broadcast, whether you're doing print advertising, but it actually goes much deeper than that. It is the giveaways that you present to your clients, to your prospects, even to your employees if you have an employee recognition program. If you're doing internal branding, all of those items that you put your logo and your branding on is considered promotional advertising. So we try to work with our clients to create a memorable experience every time they do some sort of community event or employee luncheon, employee recognition and awards, things like that. We're trying to create a really good feeling about your brand to that person you're placing that item in their hands for.
Well, and the thing to me about promotional advertising and somewhat in the area of PR, when we talk to Margie Taylor of Taylorized Public Relations, is, to me, promotional advertising is almost a no-brainer, and I'm speaking as a business person, because it just, the cost of it based on against the value of what I get back. Why is it so important?
It's important because if you're doing it correctly and you're putting an item in a prospect or customer's hand that has your logo on it and it's something useful, they're going to see your logo time after time. So the number of impressions, and they talk about that a lot in newspaper advertising and even billboard and putting your wrap on your vehicle. They talk about the number of impressions that you'll receive from those particular avenues of advertising. With promotional items, that's the highest number of impressions you can get when it's a valuable item to that person, because they're going to see it every day. If it's an item that sits around their desk, let's just use a coaster for example. They're going to see that coaster on their desk every day, quite a few times a day, because as I'm picking up my beverage to take a sip, I'm seeing the coaster, I'm seeing your brand. So it keeps your name top of mind when they do have a need for your product or service. It's there. That's the best form of promotion that you can get.
You know, one of the things that you taught me or really made an impression on me as a business person when we visited some time ago for one of my clients, in fact, this radio station, is the importance of selecting the right promotional items for the right event, for the right situation. Because it's not like you just thumb through a catalog and pick something out. There's a right and a wrong way to use promotional advertising.
That's exactly right. It depends on the type of event you're attending. It depends on who that customer is that's walking by, who that target audience is at that particular event. But also we want to think about something that's useful for them, whether it is you want a big bang for your buck at that particular event. And I love to use a trade show as an example. And I have a lot of clients who say, I'm sponsoring the bag for this trade show, so, you know, I'd like to have my logo on the bag. That's wonderful, and I encourage them to go ahead and spend that little bit of extra money it costs to imprint that second side, because now everyone's walking around with your brand on the side of that bag, no matter which way they carry it. It's a walking billboard for you. Now, if you're doing that bag, if you're sponsoring that bag, we hope that it's large enough that everything that they gather at that event will go inside your bag. And I encourage that as well. Depending on the type of event, we want to look at the size of the bag as well, so that your bag doesn't go inside a larger bag later. We don't want that. But like you said, you know, being very smart about what type of items. If it's an outdoor event, if there are a lot of children around, you might want to do beach balls with your logo on it. Although a beach ball doesn't have anything to do with what your industry is, it's still getting so much exposure because if kids are playing with it, they take it home. Mom sees it every time she puts it away. Dad sees it every time he walks into the kids' room, that kind of thing. So it's very, very important to be strategic in the item you choose.
You know, and I really can't emphasize that enough. Again, I thank you because you really made that clear to me. I think I might have known it, but, you know, it's not much different, at least from my perspective as someone who buys advertising, not an expert at all, but like buying a billboard. And if it doesn't have the right location, it really diminishes in value because you don't get the impressions. You're not catching the group of people that you want, your target, or buying radio or TV advertising. If it plays the wrong time of the day, and I buy it because it's cheaper to play at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not reaching anybody. I mean, promotional advertising is the same way.
It is exactly the same way. And all of these types of advertising work hand in hand because, as you and I both know, you know, we can do one radio spot, and depending on how many people are listening at that moment, that's the number of impressions you get. But if you do radio, if you do a community event where you possibly have a bag or a T-shirt or a giveaway or something like that, the more they see your brand, the more it ingrains it in their mind, so that, again, you are top of mind when they happen to have that need. They love to see people who support their community, and they love to do business with people that support the community. So I encourage everyone, get your brand out there, whether it's print advertising, it's radio, it's promotional products, it's public service announcements, it's all of it. Everything works together.
Well, and I 100% agree with you. And as we discussed, you've got to target it to the right group. We've got about 30 seconds left. I have to ask this question because I know every year in your industry there are new products that catch on. Tell us real quickly, what's hot this year as far as product ideas?
Oh, gosh. I would say technology is, you know, everyone loves their phones and all of their gadgets and things like that. So anything that has to do with technology, whether it's a speaker or a booster for your cell phone, for your speakers, whether it's a stylus for your iPad or your tablet, whatever you're using, anything that has to do with technology is hot, hot, hot. But still, the number one product is wearables. So it's T-shirts, it's jackets, hats, that kind of thing. That's still the mainstay.
Well, that goes back to the old adage, some things just never wear out.
That's true.
Well, Dawn, I appreciate you joining us. You're obviously, in my opinion and others, an expert in what you do, and we appreciate you sharing your advice and your perception of how to properly use promotional advertising. And I encourage people, if you need this type of advertising, which I think you do in any business, contact Dawn at I Promote You. Dawn, what's the best way to reach you?
You can email me at dawn@ipromoteyou.biz, or feel free to call me direct at 713-992-1995.
Again, thank you very much, Dawn Candy. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our program. Again, thanks to Rita Wiltz and Dawn Candy for joining us on the air today. Thanks to our show sponsor, Silver Fox Advisors, who have been serving Houston businesses as mentors and consultants for nearly 30 years now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning, and I hope we have informed and inspired you to build an even greater business. And join us next week. While I may be away, we're going to replay a show, our interview with Melanie Bush, owner of Better Bookkeepers. And in the meantime, keep your dial right where it is on Montgomery County's community radio, irlonestar.com, coming to you from the heart of downtown Conroe, offering you the best in talk, entertainment, and great country music at www.irlonestar.com.